Joe, we're now live.
Okay, great. Katie, can you please start us off with the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Badger,
Here.
Mr. Bleefeld,
I'm here.
Mr. Frank,
Here.
Mrs. Ginsburg. Here. Mrs. Heyman,
Here.
Ms. Karianakis. Here. Mr. Stoloff,
Here.
Mrs. Walsh, Mr. Antonio,
Here?
Sachi Mehta,
Here.
and Carly Meltzer.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent, and 2 student board reps tonight.
All right, thank you. It's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
Yes,
America,
America.
and
And
to
to
the
the
republic,
republic, for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty.
liberty, and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the November 1st, 2021 public meeting of the Wissahickon School District's Board of Directors. Tonight, the board will be voting on items reviewed at our work session on October 25th. Item 2 on our agenda notes last week's meeting, and item 3 lists our meetings over the next month or so. We have no presentations tonight, so we'll go right to our first public comment period, where we'll hear comments on agenda items only. Agenda items are topics that are listed on tonight's agenda. Comments on other school-related topics not on our agenda should be held until the second public comment period later in the evening. We are going to alternate in-person speakers with speakers on Zoom, and you will have up to 3 minutes to speak. And when you are called to speak, please be sure to state your name, municipality of residence, and topic. Please note that it's the board's practice not to engage in back and forth dialogue with speakers. And I don't see any registered speakers for in-person folks. Katie, can you take a look at the queue in Zoom if there are any hands raised?
There's no one on Zoom.
Okay, great. So then we'll go straight to the board president report. And for that report, I have no informational action items tonight. So we'll go then to the superintendent report. Jim?
Thank you. The first is an update on districts, the Veterans Day activities. It's not until next week, but being that we won't have a meeting before then, I wanted to share with everybody the plans because as usual, our staff and students have some really great things to honor veterans. Not so much in person this year because of COVID, but actually they're getting creative with that. So for example, at Bluebell, we have a video featuring patriotic music performances, and the veterans always love hearing those actually. At Lower Gwinnett, we have, and I'm only going to highlight some of the things in each of the schools. At Lower Gwinnett, we have virtual guest speakers. Veterans may attend virtually classrooms and or virtually participate in the school-wide assembly. And they also have a car parade, weather permitting. Students will be outside cheering, which would be great. Shady Grove always pays a good deal of attention to Veterans Day. They had a video featuring guest speakers and pictures of veterans, and that actually I think got released earlier. And they'll also have a car parade. Stony Creek's going to have a really nice effect where flags are placed in the grass around the school. And given the changes of the Stony Creek property, there's more linear footage for that now. I'm happy to report. Teachers there will do read aloud, brain pops, flowcabulary, etc. That's a new one for the superintendent, with their classes about Veterans Day. Middle school also tends to really do up Veterans Day right. They have a grab and go event for veterans who will then drive through the parking lot as the band performs. And they also have, and this is really one that I think is possibly the best, and other schools do it as well. Students make cards and letters for active duty soldiers, and they send them across the world, which is a really, really nice touch. And then high school has a recognition ceremony at the Veterans Memorial where the Camerata, our most excellent singing group, will perform on that day at 11 o'clock. So really good things going on for Veterans Day across the district at all 6 schools. COVID-19 update, we have the vaccine clinics for the younger students, age 5 to 11. The dates are set. We haven't quite been able to send out the sign-up sheets only because we're waiting for the very official approval. So we have everything ready to go as soon as the CDC puts a stamp on it, which we think they will. We'll get that out. And then the dates are November 9 with the second follow-up shot on 3 weeks later on the November 30th. We have a vaccine clinic for staff, which is this coming Friday. It will be early dismissal day, November 5th. And I don't have an update on the modified quarantine construct that we talked about last meeting. That's still in the works with the Office of Public Health. We have all been given a form to fill out that would be each district's plan for how we would test the students who might choose to take advantage of test to stay. As soon as we get the details from the Office of Public Health, which should be this week, we'll formalize our plan, share it out with everybody. And again, this is only for students who are unvaccinated and therefore might have to quarantine as a result of being a close contact. They'll have the option of the test to stay regime that will be spelled out shortly. So that's it. This room, we don't have any school tomorrow as a result of the voting. And please know that, well, first of all, please vote. That's a really awesome thing to do with your child. Good role modeling. Also, this room will be set up later this evening, as well as at about 4 a.m. for voting in this district. So, and there's several other school buildings are used for that purpose. That's my report.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions or comments for Jim?
Joe, I had a question.
Sure, yeah.
Jim, I just want to follow up on the conversation we've had the past few weeks regarding the students that are in quarantine, isolation. Do we have any updates since last week regarding what we're going to test out regarding the teachers and having some sort of live interface with the students that are at home?
Yes, we're embarking on a pilot initiative at each of the 3 levels. We don't have any results in yet, but it will be something where not an entire period, but a portion of the period will be done the way we think it will look. And then we're going to get some students to take a look for 10, 15 minutes to see what they think.
And do we have any idea on how soon we can roll out that pilot program?
I don't know, Dr. Dwan, when the piloting is going to take place anytime soon, if it hasn't already, right?
Yes, it should be very soon. We're working on soliciting volunteers from the teacher membership group to help us out to try it out. So I would anticipate later this week to be able to get that started.
And once we have those results back, assuming that the parents like the interaction, being able to have their students see the teacher and listen to the lessons, how quickly could we roll something like that out for all students that are in isolation and quarantine?
Well, the pilot will be more for obtaining input from students as to whether or not it's helpful to them. So it's really more about the student input than anything else. And once we get that information, and if it is positive, or if we don't have to make any tweaks, I think it's important to remember that the number of quarantine students will go way down. So one of the tricks will be if we have 7 teachers on Tuesday who might have a student out for quarantine, there might be a different 8 teachers on Wednesday because they might go in and out, and then we have to get equipment and training and everything processed. That's part of what we're up against. The time frame, I don't know. What we could say November at some point. Is this month? What do you think?
I think that's reasonable.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Any other comments or questions for Jim?
Hey, Joe.
Yeah,
just
Zeppi.
2 follow-up things. Dr. Dewan, we talked about last week about not only during the time, but after the time that students come back, like what are we doing to help them set up for success, to kind of feel caught up and those types of things. Is there a plan, or has that been kind of ironed out? Because I know it's probably been a little bit more almost class by class, if not necessarily something that was you were looking through, but wanted to see if you had any follow-ups from that.
Teachers, it's so very fluid, students being out on various days, and it's something that teachers are accustomed to in terms of catching up students when they return to school. So we didn't feel like there needed to be a plan articulated outside of what we've already asked, especially around teachers being flexible with due dates, flexible with assessment timeframes. Those are things that we have articulated. Aside from that, teachers are very familiar with helping students to get caught up with their work when they return from being out. And part of our work with students is already in a format that's differentiated. And so teachers are constantly identifying students' individual needs and working with them to help ensure that their needs are being met.
Great, thank you. And then, Dr. Crispiel, so I am excited that we are offering the opportunity for folks to get boosters, whether or not they had the J&J or need a booster, whatever reason. But we are doing that with a half day on Friday. And although this is probably not an issue for the upper classmates, I do think that this might be causing a bit of a strain for the lower grades. Have we worked out a plan at least for those who are in the, what do you call the thing that you do at Stony Creek after school? The YMCA, to kind of take over after the midday or whatever time. So at least those students who typically use that have that opportunity starting midday. And then if there is an issue, like someone can't pick up early or something like that, is there something we're doing to help accommodate? Because like how we can't get bus drivers, it's almost impossible to get babysitters on short notice. So I just want to make sure we're not putting our families in a pinch.
Yes, the answer is yes, we do have the aftercare starting, like it's a normal, we have other early dismissal days, so they start at the allotted time. And yes, we are sensitive to the impact on families. If there's a need or something, they can talk to their building principal. It won't be whole scale, they'll have to be on a very small individual basis.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Moving on to the Assistant Superintendent Report. Wenyewe?
Thank you. No informational items and no action items this evening.
Okay, the Board Solicitor Report. Michelle?
Good evening. No informational items and no action items tonight.
All right, the Board Secretary Report. Wade?
Yes, thank you. There are no informational items and the action items have not changed. It's 3 items. So we're requesting approval of action items 10B1 through 10B3.
So moved.
Second.
All right, the motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Wade, can you continue with the Board Treasurer Report, please?
Yes, thank you. Informational, there are no informational items and the action item is the same as last week. So we're requesting approval of action item 11B1.
So moved.
Second.
All right, the motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, the Director of Human Resources Report. Danielle?
Good evening. There are no informational items this evening, and there are no changes from the work session. I'll be seeking approval for action items 12B1 through 12B5.
All right, David, I heard you move on that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, the motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Danielle, I noticed that item 12B1 is in bold. Were there some additions since we reviewed it last week? All right.
There are, we do have a resignation that was added. I'm sorry, I thought these were added at the work session, my mistake. We have a resignation and 2 retirements that were added to the retirement resignation and termination section.
Okay. All right,
Another question also.
Yes, Ron.
The reading specialists that are listed as being added, is that 3 positions? Are we voting on that tonight?
No,
Oh, okay.
we'll bring those to your attention next board meeting with approval for the positions.
Thank you.
okay. Once again, the motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. All right, that takes us to the Communications Committee report. Zeffie?
Thanks, Joe. Katie, can we project our slides? Thank you. So this is our on-campus COVID cases. These are in-person cases, so they must have been in the building for them to be reported on this grid. And we had a total of 10. You can see this week, we had 3, which is good. I constantly get excited when I see these numbers moving in this direction. Our next slide is off campus. So these are cases that are reported to us, but these individuals were not in the building within the time period. And we have 4 here with the week ending 10/25 at 1. And then our newest data snapshot that we've been looking at is the quarantine isolation. And you can see here, this is a snapshot of October 29th. We have a total of 30. We have 19 in quarantine that are students, 10 that are in isolation. And for staff, we have 1 in isolation. So again, these numbers have been moving in a really good direction for our schools. Any questions or comments? Did I go through that too quickly?
Yeah, I'd say one comment is that it's nice to see that the numbers are
Agreed.
where they're at. I mean, I think about a month and a half ago, where they were in the 70 plus.
Plus,
So
yeah.
that's right. So that's a
So-
significant improvement, which is great, and hope it keeps up. And for, I guess, for context, or frame of reference, we have approximately 5,000 students in Wissahickon schools. So the fact that we have, looks like 29 that are isolating or quarantining is fantastic news. And then only looks like 1 staff person. I think staff-wise, we have probably about, what, 500 staff members, maybe? Yeah. So again, great rate so far.
Thank you, Katie. If there's no questions, we can move on. I have no other items for today.
All right, thank you. The Curriculum and Technology Committee report. Ronnie?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
David has attended a meeting. I have not.
Okay. Wait, what are we talking about? Are you talking about the Curriculum and Technology Committee report? Yeah. So David, do you want to walk us through some of this, or
Or Dr. Dewan?
Dr. Dewan?
Yeah, Dr. Dewan should handle this.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
We have no informational items tonight, and the action items have not changed since the work session last Monday. So tonight we'll be seeking approval of action items 14B1 through 14B6.
Second?
All right, the motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
Yes, I have one question about the approval of the increased costs from the MCIU. Any idea of what the reason was? Did we require more, or or was it generated, or the increase in costs came from them?
The increase in cost is due to the number of students who are in the WVA program who require special education services. So that was not something we could anticipate before the year began.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, again, the motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. All right, so we're at the Facilities and Transportation Committee report. Wade, can you cover this in Tracy's absence?
Yep, thank you. There's no informational item, and the action item has not changed since last week. So we are seeking approval of action item 15B1.
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, the Finance Committee report. David?
Thank you, Joe. We have no new informational items since last week and also no new action items. And those we have are unchanged. And we'll be seeking approval for action items 16B1 through 16B4.
So moved.
Second.
Second,
All right, the motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, the policy committee report. Marshall?
Thank you, Joe. I have no informational items tonight. We do have action items for approval. There are no changes from the work session. So tonight I will be seeking approval of action items 17B1 through 24.
So moved.
second,
All right, the motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Sorry,
Joe?
I had a quick question.
Oh, yes. Zephy?
When do we do the second reading? I forget the sequence of how this works.
At the next meeting, we will
Do the same ones?
look at a new set. I'm trying to speak into the microphone. We will look at the next set that we will review on a first basis, and we will look at this set on a second basis and then review it and vote on it for second time.
Thank you for the reminder.
There's no third reading, right?
Unless you want one.
No,
So,
just the first and second reading, yes.
all right, and with that, I have no other items tonight.
All right, thanks.
Thank
The Racial Equity Oversight Committee report, Paul?
Thank you, Joe. Tonight, we have no additional informational or action items since last week.
Okay. The report of board representatives, any updates since last week on any of these committees?
No.
Okay. All right, well, so then that takes us to the second public comment period, where we'll hear comments on any school-related topic. Again, we're going to alternate in-person speakers with speakers on Zoom. You will have up to 3 minutes to speak. And when you are called to speak, please be sure to state your name, municipality of residence, and topic. Please note that it is the board's practice not to engage in back and forth dialogue with speakers. And I don't see any registered in-person speakers. So Katie, can you please check the Zoom queue?
There's no one on Zoom.
Okay, so then that takes us to board comments. Any comments from my fellow board members?
Yes.
Ron?
All right. This is my valedictory speech. It's not because I'm the first in my class, far from it, but by the strictest of definitions, it means farewell. As this is my last regular Wissahickon school board meeting, as my term is up after 8 incredibly exciting and fruitful years. However, it wouldn't be a true valedictory speech if I didn't look back on those 8 years working for the people of our community. So here goes, and I can assure you it will not take 8 years to cover it. When campaigning, one of my major planks was to do something about the performance gap, the so-called performance gap that affected some of our students. And I'm happy to say that we're moving to solve this problem. Is it gone? Certainly not. As if it were easy, the problem either wouldn't exist at all or would have been solved everywhere else long ago. We're taking steps, however, steps that were to have resolved it in 10 years after our hiring of our then new superintendent, Dr. Crisfield, which was one of his first steps. In fact, we discovered that we were working on a common thread when we interviewed him for this position. Of course, the COVID pandemic has set this back at least a year, if not 2, but we are moving on it, as opposed to previous years when it was just remarked upon with no real plan for a solution. We're moving on another major project, that of changing our start times to better reflect the needs of our students, most especially those in high and middle school, whose internal clock makes our near 7 o'clock a.m. start times wildly out of sync with their biological clock. As things stand now, we hope to have the times changed to a later start so that our students won't be half asleep in their early classes. How this will be worked out will have to be designed so it doesn't cause additional stress on our families. But we all must understand that the present schedule does a mighty disservice to our students. Lastly, is one that causes me to lose sleep the most often. Nationally, the combination of a lack of civility in our communications and the lack of understanding of how our government is supposed to work. Why has this happened? Part of it is because of the so-called No Child Left Behind Act, which sought to improve our students' reading and math skills. Unfortunately, in order to accomplish this, other untested areas such as civics, government, as well as history and other social sciences were cut back. The result, one only has to, one only has to listen to the statements made on TV, talk radio, and in social media as people seemingly will believe anything, no matter how outlandish, as long as it supports their beliefs. We must increase our civics education, as I fear this is the only way that we will save our nation and our very democracy. In closing, I want to thank you for your time tonight and for my colleagues on the board for your forbearance, as usual. To our administration for the support you've given us, and most especially me. To our school staff for your unending efforts in supporting our students in the support for our students. And finally, and most importantly, to our community for giving me the opportunity to serve you. To those who will be replacing Tracy and me, good luck, putting it mildly. And if there is anything you need, an ear to listen, a bit of sage advice, perhaps I will be available, and good luck in facing the challenges ahead. And to all of you, I bid you almost adieu, because I have another, we still have another meeting, but I tell you, this has been 8 of the most rewarding years of my entire life. The only thing that passes it are my 35, surpasses it rather, are my 35 years before my classes. And I will miss you. And question, I have no doubt that you will miss me. Ha. Good evening, and thank you again.
Ron, I think you exceeded the 3-minute limit, but after 8 years of your service to the board and the school community in Wissahickon, you deserve it. And how about a round of applause for Ron? Any other board comments?
If I may, I would like to thank Ron and Tracy for their guidance and the help that they provided when I joined the board. They were senior members of the board. Ron, you will be missed greatly. All of your insights and your background as a teacher are always helpful and beneficial in the meetings. And I'm sure no one will ever top your MCIU Legislative Committee wrap-ups in the years to come, but hopefully we'll get close. Thank you for all you've done for us and for Wissahickon.
Other board members? Zephy?
So slightly different direction, but thank you for your service. I wanted to mention something that I attended on Wednesday that I thought was amazing. So Wednesday, our high school had a vocal recital. 14 phenomenal students got up on the stage and sang either with the piano and one with his own guitar. It was amazing the amount of talent that we had in our schools. And I want to just give a shout out to our arts, because we're always shouting out our sports, and not that they don't deserve it, but I want to give out a shout out to our artists that are in our buildings. It was really great to see. Some of them said they hadn't been on a stage for over 2 years. So I was really excited to see those happen again. So wanted to share that out.
Great, thanks. Other board members?
I'd just like to echo the comments earlier regarding the service that our fellow board members have provided in their tenure. You will be missed, and we appreciate all the hard work and dedication you've given to the board and to the district and the community at large. So just want to say thank you to Ron and Tracy. We appreciate it.
If I may very quickly, I know I congratulated Tracy last week. Ron, first of all, I think your mic was off. Could you restart that again with your mic? I didn't hear it. No, you know what? I'll read it on the website. That's fine. I want to congratulate you for 8 years. It's not an easy job, as we know. You certainly do it with grace and animation, and it's certainly not overlooked and well deserved that you get a pat on the back tonight for all of your hard work and everything you've done for the district. So congratulations, and I'm sure we'll still see you around. It's still busy, and we appreciate everything you've done. Thank you.
Ronnie?
I'd like to thank both Ron and Tracy, as when I got on the board, they kind of took me under their wings, showed me the ropes, and now I'll have served longer than them when I'm finished. So we've been around for a while. You too, Joe. I think we do a pretty good job.
Thank you. Amy?
And I'll just also thank you for your service, Ron. It's been so nice sitting next to you since we're back in person. And Tracy's not here this week, but also thank you to Tracy for her service. Thank you.
All right, any other board members? How about our student board reps, Carly or Sachi? Any comments you'd like to make this evening?
Nothing school related, but since we're on the topic of board members leaving, I also just wanted to say thank you. I know Sachi and I have only been here for maybe a couple months, but these members have definitely kept the board alive and exciting. And specifically, I'm sorry, I don't know last names, and I don't want to refer to adults by their first name. I don't know if I have permission to do that.
Mr. Stoloff.
What?
Mr. Stoloff.
Okay, I'm gonna butcher that name because it just went glitchy, but Mr. Stoloff, you said?
That's right.
All right, great. Mr. Stoloff, all I can say is that I just remember interviewing and you just giving the kindest feedback and being so alive on all of these meetings. I know you said you wanted the seniors to do line dancing at their senior banquet. I really hope they're doing that tonight in honor of you leaving, but I just wanted to say thank you for everything. I wish I had more time with you, but for the time that I did spend with both these board members, it's been great.
Thank you.
That is my loss.
All right. Yeah, Ron, and just to echo everything that was said, I want to thank you personally also for your service on the board and, for working with me when I first started on the board. You were, I think, you and Tracy and Sherry back in the day were sort of the veterans on the board, welcoming our slate when we, first took this on. What was it? I guess about 6.5 years ago or so. So I appreciate that, and you will be missed. At the same time, I'm excited about the potential of having at least 2 new board members on with us next year to bring some new ideas and fresh perspective to the board. So, but again, thank you for all you've done for the district and also the students and families of Wissahickon. So one last round of applause for Ron. Okay, and with that, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.